Let's start with the most incendiary. And of course, this is maggot on top on maggot violence in a lot of ways. This is Thomas Massie. Pam Bondi was just an absolute, just basically like a human shit poster instead of the Attorney General of the United States. Like, she came there not because she wanted to show what a great job she was doing as AG, but so that she could basically, it felt like she was auditioning for Caroline Leavitt's job when Caroline Leavitt goes away on maternity leave. It really did. And she's not going to get it because she's actually too mean and full of shit for Caroline Leavitt's gig. Yeah. All right, so here we go. And this is, again, Massie and Bondi have shocking fight as he accuses her of Epstein Files cover-up. And by the way, it is patently obvious she is guilty of violating the law, and she knows it. And that's why she's so awful and defensive about this in all of these clips.
Very briefly.
Oops, hold on.
To her statement.
There you go.
Well, I think we can do that probably on one of our members' time.
Okay, thank you. I don't want that to get away. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Behind me, I have 3 documents from the DOJ production that are emblematic of the massive failure of the DOJ to comply with the Epstein.
Okay, failure is an interesting word because that asserts to me bug, not a feature. And I would argue that she was hired as second fiddle to Matt Gaetz because Trump thinks of that as a feature, not a bug, not a failure, an active choice to ignore the law to protect rich pedophiles. Period.
Files Transparency Act. To my right is an email that was sent by the victim's lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to redact. A list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email?
By the way, I'd like to point out, other people have brought up this list as well in the congressional hearing today. On the Democrat side, they blurred the names. They literally didn't want to be part of putting the names back out there. Massie doesn't. Massie just shows it as it is in the files. And you can make up your mind which you think is a better tactic. I think from the Democratic side, it's more sensitive to do that. It does look like more theatrical to people who want to nitpick it, but I think that's what you would do. It just, if you're complaining the DOJ doesn't redact these names, then not redacting them yourself, presuming that in the future they will be you see what I mean.
This email in the document production, literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name. And
yeah, the lawyer, the man.
You redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you, that was in the title, the victims' survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking. Co-conspirators, fully redacted.
Yeah, look at that. The faces are covered and their names. It's literally in the law, like you can't redact the names of co-conspirators or anybody else who, isn't a victim to avoid embarrassment.
And
which is amazing.
By the way, I'm going to unredact them here.
I think that's Leslie Groff in the corner down at the bottom. And then Les Wexner.
Les Wexner is in this. Now, your your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appears hundreds of times in the files. But he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have here is the third exhibit that I have is emblematic of the FD 302 release. These are the documents that we need that you're holding on to and over-redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI, and it's in there. And what happens when you go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction.
Yeah. By the way that they, like Pam Bondi was getting around the compliance without compliance is that and we saw this when Raskin and others came out, was that they just uploaded the redacted files from the FBI instead of what the law says, get the unredacted files from the FBI and upload those and then redact them before they go to the public. And then the Congress and people with clearance can look at them to make sure that they're redacted with good reason, which they obviously aren't.
So we can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you've pulled down from the website that we will never see because we can't search the redactions. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name?
Yes, she is. Because other people wouldn't have done that, and whoever did so on direct orders from her. Or I guess even Kash Patel in some situations. Because if you just handed it out to a bunch of agents, go, hey, redact anything in this that is a victim's name, but anybody else any man who shows up or whatever who's involved and all that, you got to leave that open. Then they made their pass. That's what I think.
As a co-conspirator in an FBI document, do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
Yeah, I already told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer? Come on, let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time.
Mr. Chairman. This isn't how this works.
Can I have?
Again, this is the dodges he's trying. She did it within 40 minutes of them calling her out. She would not have done it at all if she hadn't been called out. So you don't get points for doing it after you've been caught. You're not like, if you're guilty of shoplifting, you don't get to run back into the store and put stuff back and go, what are you talking about? I never stole anything. That's not how it works. And that's her argument. That's the exact same argument that she's making here. Whoops, hold on.
The gentlelady can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman from Kentucky.
All right, I'm reclaiming my time.
Can I give my answer?
So
Yes.
I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman,
Because I
may I
have
give
another
my
question.
answer on that?
Here's
It's a political
the question.
joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to his next
Chairman,
question.
it's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question.
You can give
Within
me-
40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes
You
of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out
Where
of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
4,700,
Okay.
and we invited you
Show
in.
the video.
This guy.
This is like, we invited you in. No, you're legally required to show your work. This was not an invitation. Jesus Christ. She's like, I let you check to make sure, even though we gave you half the shit and lied about it being unredacted, and we let a whole fucking news cycle go of Congress people get to view the unredacted shit, which we now know wasn't unredacted. That, she's sitting in that. He caught her and brought it up. Then they put it back because they got caught. And she says it's an invitation. It's not an invitation. Oversight is not an invitation. The Congress is not invited to have oversight over the executive branch. They have a fiscal and legal responsibility to check your work. Shithead. God damn.
Trump derangement syndrome.
Oh, right. That's.
He needs to get, you're a failed politician.
Gentlemen,
You need to
I
get
want
on
you to
these
watch the
matters.
video.
Mr. Chairman, please restore his time
Hold on
and
one second.
remind the witness of the...
Hold on. Pause. He's playing a video, so it gets overlapped at one point. Where the heck is my... There's my pointer. You fool, you've broken my pointing stick. I've got nothing to point with now. She says he has Trump derangement syndrome, and which, by the way, I would say that only maggots have, because you'd have to be fucking deranged to vote for this adjudicated rapist and arguably a pedophile, and certainly a pedophile enabler multiple times. Like, you'd have to be fucking crazy. I mean, as crazy as people who went to Jim Jones's pineapple farm.
There was one redaction out
Where
of
he's
over
listed as a
4,700,
co-conspirator.
and we invited you in.
Show the video.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get, you're a failed politician.
Gentlemen,
You need to
I
get on
want you to
these
watch the video.
matters.
Okay, so he's playing the Kash Patel thing, I think, from February.
Please restore his time and remind the witness of the rules here.
There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals.
Is that your position as well?
My position is any victim who comes forward, of course, we would love to hear from them. 1-800-CALL-FBI.
What do you think the 302s are, you dizzy bitch? Good God.
Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last 4 years? Did you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming my
the
time.
last
I'm
4
glad you're
years?
asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because
time
this
when
is
you don't-
bigger than
when you
Watergate.
can't- when I don't answer a question the
This
way you
goes
want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
Now,
where the
I want to
most
know at what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to.
By the way, this is also the part that requires them to allow Congress to check and see if the redactions that they're making are legit or not. Somebody has to look at it. If you're not going to put a special master in charge, then members of Congress are going to have to be able to look at it, because you'll never even know if they're violating the law if they can hide it behind a wall. So again, that's why the computers they set up in this room are not an invite. They're a requirement of the law. This is the same thing. They're providing those internal DOJ communications, which they still haven't done.
Prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
May she answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2 people voted against it, and you were one of them.
Sorry. So, real quick. You're defending living pedophiles who continue to victimize people now, today, because they're out and about and are able to do it, those who haven't aged past Viagra. And your attack on him is that he voted against a bill about fake sexual images. That's your defense. Now, I think, like, deep fake sexual images of people should be illegal, but it's more of more in the realm of like ethics, morals, and copyright and shit like that. The ability to have control over your own image in the public and not it falls under like libel and slander, right? Because it's not your actual body, but they're using your head to make it look like it is and all that kind of stuff. So it's awful, but it's not even on the fucking scale of the accusations in this shit. All right, hold on. Let's start with. I gotta do this. I have to find this real quick. I think, where the fuck is it? Okay. Keith Frankel and Pam Bondi. Okay, a lot of stuff is being made of Keith Frankel. Yeah, there's a post of them. Yeah, here it is. No, clear that. Get out of the way. I want to see the picture. I don't want to. All right, here we go. This is Pam Bondi and a guy named Keith Frankel. This Mark Pentecost puts this up. Just wrapped some filming today with a couple of great friends, Keith Frankel and Pam Bondi. A lot goes into behind the scenes work prepping to be on screen. It's awesome to have them in town to be a part of the Florida Wild movie. We have a lot of fun filming. Okay. She knows this dude. Okay. This guy is all over the fucking Epstein files. He and Epstein were in business together, including one thing that people have been making a lot of noise about called body boxes, which sounds like a coffin, but is supposedly one of these. It's a stupid name for this like rejuvenation fucking thing they were selling to like rich people. Like this red light therapy, probably oxygen chamber mixed with fucking, I don't know, filled with Vaseline. I don't give a shit. But the idea is, yeah, Ped Nugent, exactly. Is that she has no problem being involved with this dude at all. I'm assuming he's the one on that side. But this idea that she's like horrified, or that she was, particularly offended by what Epstein did when she could have torn up his the non-prosecution agreement against his co-conspirators at any time when she was AG, which she did not do, which again I would argue is feature, not a bug.
Hypocrite.
The gentleman's time has expired.
She didn't answer the question.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, could she answer the question?
Chairman, I was wondering.
The gentlelady's allowed, the Attorney General's allowed to respond the way she wants to respond to any members' questions, Republican, Democrat.
All right, I have unanimous consent request.
Gentleman's recognized for a UC.
All right, this is an example. I'm submitting these 302 forms that are entirely redacted, even when you go to look at them.
Without objection.
I'm submitting a witness statement that implicates Les Wexner.
Without objection.
I'm submitting an article from the New York Times that the DOJ released nude photos and identifiable pictures of the victims. I'm submitting a letter from AG Bondi to Kash Patel, imploring him to quit keeping the files when you found out that they were keeping files from you, because they're still redacting files that you...
Chairman, are we going to recess for votes?
Yes, we are.
I'm submitting for unanimous consent a document of 17 individuals who've resigned because of the Epstein files.
Without objection.
Oh, you could cook an egg on the heat and tension in that room after this. Now, again, Raskin got into a shouting match with her. I have not seen the ones I want to show you are the ones I haven't seen. So we'll go through it. And Jared Moskowitz was on Peanut Butter Dickhead's podcast and was jabbing them the entire time. And kudos to him for doing that. And the funny thing is they didn't seem to notice when he was mocking them. Maybe it's because they're in such a loving and supportive environment all the time that they don't understand sarcasm or irony in the moment, because that couldn't happen to me here. No one would dare mock me to my fucking face, right? So I have a feeling that's why they didn't, it was just in the wrong venue. They had a scotoma. And in this particular, okay, Jared Moskowitz outright asks Pam Bondi to attack him for her burn book.
Several UCs and receipts.
Okay, yeah.
I'd like to have unanimous consent to introduce the National Security Presidential Memorandum 7 dated September 25th, 25.
Without objection.
The Bondi Department of Justice memo dated December 4th, 2025.
Without objection.
An article from Newsweek entitled DOJ Deletes Study Alleging Rise in Far-Right Terrorism dated September 18th, 2025.
Without objection.
Notice article from October 3rd, 2025, Trump's directive on organized political violence could lead to increased surveillance of his critics.
Without objection.
Washington Post article, September 25th, 2025, Trump targets domestic terrorists, but only mentions the radical left.
Without objection.
Idaho Capitol Sun, October 18th, 2025. Rest easy, Idahoans. The No King demonstrators are American patriots.
Without objection.
Attack.
Poor Jim Jordan. He's probably just, relaxing himself with old images of him ignoring sexual assault at OSU. It goes to his comfort hole.
On freedom of speech, what nonprofits need to know, published by the National Council of Nonprofits, the largest network of nonprofits in America.
Without objection.
The Freedom from Religious Foundation warns that Bondi memo weaponizes federal law enforcement against non-Christians and dissenting viewpoints.
Without objection.
A Ken Klipperstein blog from January 28th, 26, ICE's secret watch list.
Hey, can somebody get one of the Democrats to put one of my videos into evidence on these things? Because I think I do a damn fine job. And you could save a lot of time because I cover all this shit in one video. You know what I mean? Instead of just one article about each element of it, okay. Maybe it's all the swearing. But then, of course, Matt Gaetz wanted to put in the alleged Hunter Biden hard drive, which had fucking pictures of his dick in it, and they weren't planning on redacting them. So
of Americans.
You know what I mean?
Objection.
And an Intercept article from February 2nd, 26, Trump calls his enemies terrorists. Does that mean he can kill them?
Without objection, the gentleman from Florida is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Attorney General Bondi.
Good afternoon.
Oh, you're right. Good afternoon. It's been a long day. I wrote this morning. We've known each other a long time, and I'll always be appreciative for your assistance when you were Attorney General in Florida after the shooting at my high school at Marjory Stoneman Douglas in my hometown of Parkland when we passed a bipartisan bill, the Marjory Stoneman Douglas School Safety Act, which was the largest policy response to a school shooting in American history. Your department also prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law a constituent of mine and former felon that had plans to kill me when he was picked up by law enforcement after he was target practicing in his backyard with 2 rifles, a scope, a silencer, 3,000 rounds of ammunition, an anti-Semitic manifesto. My name was the only name on their target list, and my kids found out about this from their friends at school. So thank you. However, the most transparent administration in American history. Before Trump, we didn't know the word transparency, apparently. It's been 12 months since you gave Republican influencers part 1 of the Epstein files. You said the list was on your desk. Then a memo came out and said that there was no list. Phase 2 of the binders never happened. The President of the United States says the Epstein thing is a hoax. He blasts his own base for wanting the release of the files. He blamed Barack Obama. Republicans voted against the release of the files in the Rules Committee. Then they refused to even return to the Rules Committee until they could be protected from future votes on the release. Speaker Johnson sends Congress home a day early before break. They sent the Deputy Attorney General to meet with Maxwell. She says something favorable about the president.
He's leaving out the memo, the July memo. That was a big part of this.
Miraculously, she gets transferred to a minimum security facility. No one can explain why. Miraculously, the leaks to the Wall Street Journal stop. We come back from break. We have the Massie discharge petition. Republicans drop a rule, a non-binding resolution trying to kill the Massie discharge petition. The White House says passing the Massie discharge petition is a hostile act. Trying to stop the necessary 218 signatures, according to Republican members that signed it, the White House brought them into the Situation Room, the place where the president goes for time of war, promising things like appropriations or maybe even to primary them. People in the room say you were there. It didn't work. We get the 218 signatures. We eventually passed the Massie petition. You guys didn't release the files. You were forced by Congress, every member of the House except one, and the entire Senate. The reason the president signed it is because it was a veto-proof majority.
What did I fucking say? Thank you, Jared. That's good. Yes, finally somebody that needs to be hammered.
We can't agree on anything, and yet the entire House but one member and the whole Senate forced the administration to release the files. Kash Patel under oath said to Senator Kennedy, the FBI is not in possession of any credible evidence that Epstein trafficked girls to anyone but himself. We know now that's not true. According to documents, Epstein had a worldwide sex trafficking ring. Girls from Poland, Czechoslovakia, Russia, Paris, modeling agencies sending him girls. He even had a relationship with a summer camp where he groomed girls at a picnic table. Ghislaine Maxwell says 29 Epstein associates cut secret DOJ deals. Turns out there is a list. 6 names readily available if you unredact them. Co-conspirators named, but we got them when you unredact them. Maxwell recently tells a House Oversight Committee that she wants clemency to release more names. Kash Patel under oath said Trump's name appears less than 100 times in the files. We now know that's not true. Trump's name appears more times in the Epstein files than God's name appears in the book about God. Okay, by the way, this is the Trump Bible. Move over, King James. Trump's name also appears more times in the Epstein file than Harry Potter's name appears in the 7 books about Harry Potter. Lutnick says that in 2008, he went to Epstein's home, says he had...
We need a split screen. We need a shot of Pam Bondi while he's doing this. I mean, these are the things we all know. And I will argue that he's doing it in a very tight way, which is great. But I would also like to say that most Democrats, because they knew she would filibuster or just yell shit or accuse you of something, they read off this stuff, so she had to sit there and listen to it. So you can't... The argument is that in future, you can't act like you didn't hear this. Oops.
Said he got one every day, that it was the right type of massage. He and his wife decide to leave and say they'll never be in a room with him again. Howard then says, I'm sure the Epstein stuff is all on video. He was the greatest blackmailer of all time. Well, how would Howard know that? But now the files are public, and in 2012, we find out that he and his family are on Epstein Island after Epstein pled guilty to state charges. I'm from Florida. I take my family to Disney World, not to Epstein Island. There are documents in the files that dispute the president's claim that he kicked Epstein out of his club. Allegedly, the president said that he asked Epstein to leave. Supported now, that's disputed, though, by statements from the manager of the club. Now, Madam Attorney General, I have like 25 seconds left. So because I'm curious, and I'd like to see, flip to the Jared Moskowitz section of the binder. I'm interested to see what staff provided on the oppo on me, and because we're in the Olympics, I'm going to give it a grade. I just want to see how good it is. So give me your best one.
So first of all, nothing is funny about mocking the Bible and holding up a Trump Bible. That's what you did. You made a joke, and I find offense to that. That's all I have to say.
I want it from the burn book.
Shame.
I want it from the burn book. Which is the best one? What you got?
Has expired. The gentleman from Wisconsin is recognized.
He gave her a 0. Maybe she wasn't mocking the Bible. Maybe she was mocking the Lee Greenwood song lyrics that are included in it. The redacted version, the word of the day, the redacted version of the Bill of Rights that somehow eliminates the one or omits the one on slavery. So good. All right, Ted Lieu, another good dude. I've met Ted a couple of times at sexy liberal shows. It's the extent of my interactions with him, but we've had good conversations, and I know that occasionally his staff watches the show, so hi. You're welcome. Anything I could do. Feel free to, in the comments section, if you want me to go after anything in particular, I'm glad to hunt it down for you, because nobody does it better. All right. So, Ted Lieu accuses Bondi of lying under oath to her face. Well, that's, in all fairness, that's only because Patel isn't there, and he would like to do it to him too.
I have a UC.
There's a lot of UCs.
Ms. Crockett from Texas is recognized for UC.
Thank you so much. Donald Trump's approval rating implodes on his strongest issue. This is from Newsweek today. It says 40% of people approve of Trump's handling of immigration and border security, while 60% disapprove.
Without objection.
Oh, by the way, this is when Jim Jordan's left to go vote, and he's Andy Biggs has taken over.
That is a net drop.
Now I recognize the gentleman
20.
from California, Mr. Lieu.
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for being here today. I'm going to show you 2 photos.
Oh, I missed something before, by the way. I would like to point out the fact that the Trump Bible is in and of itself a mockery of the Bible. It is branded based on a man's name who has never read the Bible. Never. He doesn't even thumb through the fucking thing. So somebody making money, selling a Bible, when they have never read the original in any form, is a mockery of the Bible, Pam Bondi. So I yield the rest of my time.
Thank you.
To the gentle person from California.
I'm going to show you 2 photos of former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact photos to protect the victims of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. You redacted the photos of this victim's face because you were following the congressional law. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, that we redacted the victim's
Because you were
face?
following the congressional law, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I don't even know what you're asking me, even though now I think I'm being set up.
You have now established that please put the photos back up, that we are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients, like former Prince Andrew. Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo.
Oh, she also kept it closed when she was handed the non-prosecution agreement as the AG of Florida, too. So this isn't a new habit she's picked up. Again, feature, not a bug. What is my audio?
Quote, we did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties.
What did I read this morning when we were talking to Glenn Kirshner? I feel like I'm just psychic. All right.
These two photos, please put the photos back up. These two photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime and more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew. So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions when he was Attorney General and set before.
They didn't have the evidence yet.
I agree with you.
You twice.
I'm reclaiming my time.
Never
I agree with
mentioned
you. I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them. So I want to move on to another man.
Can I answer
Donald
that,
Trump.
though?
I want to move on to another
Can I answer
question.
your question about protecting
You
Prince
answered the
Andrew?
question.
You're saying no. I love this.
I want to discuss another man, Donald Trump, who is all over the Epstein files, like former Prince. Here's a video. Like former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. That's what that silence says. Yes.
This is so ridiculous.
Okay, that's not the answer. The answer is no, or oh shit. Those are your two options here, lady. Hold on. Let me back this up. What was it?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done.
Whoa, sorry. Yeah, I mean, you just got to take a certain amount of pedophilia if you want the stock market to go up 1,000 points. Out of 50, by the way. This isn't the fucking 80s, when we were like 6,000 or some shit like that, when 1,000 would have meant an order of magnitude what it means today. Yeah, look, you got to take some good with the bad. Some good is investments coming in. Some bad is it's not a job-creating investment. You got to take some good with the bad. Regulations are dropped, including ones, the sort of moratorium on old men fucking underage girls for pleasure and I guess throwing them in the ocean afterwards. Hold on, let me back up.
From all the great things Donald Trump has done. There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most...
Well, no. No, we don't, because there's still millions of documents missing, and those are only the ones you admit to. And a lot of shit's double redacted. You are told to provide unredacted versions of the shit you have released, which is not the complete files, and you still redacted those, you dizzy bitch. Get off your high horse. It ain't working.
Transparent presidency. He's the one
Hold on.
asked that those files.
I'm going to claim my time.
be
I got your
released.
answer. You said there's no
President
evidence.
Trump asked
Mr. Chairman,
that
please
he
stop the
sign
clock. Please stop the clock.
the legislation. This is
Time.
this
I'd like
is
to reclaim my
ridiculous.
time.
Time belongs to the
No, it's not ridiculous at all. Has anybody but Ghislaine Maxwell been put to jail? And by the way, when was she tried and sentenced? During the Biden administration. If Trump had won, do you think she would have ever made it to trial? Do you think she would have been bounced or been turned into, state's evidence and then died in her fucking garage from a hanging that she would have needed help to do?
gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you. Here is a witness statement who...
You liar. Just because you caught me.
...called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop a limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide. No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness. You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell, so should the men who patronized his operation. And as we sit here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims, and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
Damn, son. I gotta say, Ted Lieu did something amazing there in that, Jared Moskowitz obviously was there to kind of like roll out the litany and knowing that she was going to just blather stuff back. That's why he did that kind of stunt at the end, which was a great idea. But Ted Lieu buried her with the heaviness of the accusations. Really well done. I'll see if...
May I respond?
Yeah, I don't know how you respond. No one can.
I did not
can
ask a
respond.
question, Ms.
He
Head.
doesn't
You're
want
allowed
to talk
to.
about
I did
the
not ask a
horrific
question.
crime in California. He does not want to talk about
I did not ask a
crime
question.
in his state.
She can't just
Attorney
ad-lib
General.
stuff. I did not ask a question.
Also, what the fuck does the DOJ have to do with state crime? If this goes into my whole thing about like Republicans suggesting whenever you bring up we need, more school funding and stuff, they always go, we just need more parent involvement. Well, you can't legislate that, motherfucker, unless you want to put a bill up that throws parents in jail for not helping with homework. Shut the fuck up and talk about things that you can actually legislate. Well, regular order crime in big cities with lots of people where all the crime happens except in, pairing it with the population per capita in smaller towns and red areas all across the country, it's actually higher. But in the big cities, that's where you get the hard numbers, which is 200, 300 murder victims a year, that kind of thing. Jumping on police dealing with those crimes, or the congressperson who's in charge of that area as if they have a direct responsibility, like the mayor would, or the city council, or the sheriff, or whoever, as a way of distracting from a job you actually have. There's no other way to describe what she's doing other than a protection racket for Trump and Epstein's other buddies. Just fucking hideous. So, one of these things, I'm going to grab one more because this is so good. It's so good. All right. Sorry, I have to, there it is. All right. Did I get yeah, I got that one up there. There you go. And then there's, Balint, and then Crockett. I mean, everybody just fucking brought the noise today. So goddamn good. Oh, and then the yeah. Let's go to Raskin real quick, because we've been following the fact that he actually went and looked at the redacted. I don't even know how to refer it. Like the next violation of the law that Pam Bondi engaged in, which was pretending to release the unredacted stuff when actually keeping them redacted. So he went there and looked at this, and she keeps blathering on about this because she's just, her whole thing is just attack people, and that'll be enough for Trump and the right. He just wants to see her yell at them. It's not working though. All over maggotdom, a lot of them are going, this does not make her look good.
Recognizes the gentleman from Maryland.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to start by saying I appreciate what you said, Attorney General Bondi, and you said it to me personally, that you take the personal security of every member of Congress seriously, and that people can contact you about that. And in these times, that's a very serious matter. So I thank you for that. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 7 of the Constitution is the Domestic Emoluments Clause. And it says that the president is limited to his salary in office and cannot receive any other money from the federal government while he's in office. It cannot be increased by $1. This president is the first president in U.S. history who has repeatedly sued the federal government for $230 million for the judicial search warrant at Mar-a-Lago, which was perfectly lawful and was never struck down. But now he's suing the IRS for $10 billion. He's suing the IRS for $10 billion, which I think is around 80% of its annual budget, because his tax returns were leaked. And they were illegally leaked by a private contractor who actually is in prison now, Charles Littlejohn. But he wants $10 billion. Now, well, I want to ask you the question of whether you think it would violate the Domestic Emoluments Clause for you to settle that $10 billion case or any of the other claims that the president has made against the government. He himself has remarked, it's interesting because I'm the one that makes the deal, right? And he says, I kind of have to work it out with myself. Do you think it would violate the Domestic Emoluments Clause for the president to work out a deal from people who are his subordinates under his unitary executive theory to get money in one of these cases?
I'm not going to discuss pending litigation.
Well, then you can talk about the Epstein co-conspirators then, I guess. Right? You can talk all about Epstein and everybody involved, because there are no pending investigations because you closed that shit in July. Hold on.
You're saying because his privacy rights were violated in that tax case, and they were. I'm with the president on that. I mean, his Mar-a-Lago thing is ridiculous, but there's no doubt that his tax returns, despite the fact that he promised to release them, despite the fact that every other president released the tax returns, he suffered embarrassment when it showed that he hadn't paid taxes for several years, and he had a right for that not to happen. Now, I want to turn back to the Epstein survivors, because President Trump may have been a little bit embarrassed by the release of those tax returns. How much do you think the claims of these survivors are worth? As the good congressman from Kentucky just pointed out, there were lots of survivors who had decided, for reasons of their own, never to release their names. That determination was represented to people in Congress, and we built it into our federal law that their names could not be released, and yet you published their names, their phone numbers, their addresses, personally identifying information. If Donald Trump can get $10 billion theoretically from the Department of Justice, how much should these people get for a far worse violation of their privacy rights and a far greater danger established to them in their lives?
Do you even know who Chase Mulligan is? You're so obsessed with, you
Okay,
don't, do you?
I'm going to
You
teach you
just
the
made a
rules again.
face.
You're the Attorney General of the United States. We have
You're
rules
obsessed
here.
with him.
You're the Attorney General of the United States.
With
And the rules,
obsessed with Donald Trump, you
No.
have Trump derangement syndrome.
Mr. Chairman,
Chase
I'd like my time
Mulligan will be
restored. I'd like my
sentenced
time
next week
restored.
in your district. In your district, and
Stop
you
the
don't
clock.
even know about it, about keeping children
Time belongs
safe
to
from
the
online
gentleman.
predators.
Time belongs to the gentleman from Maryland. The gentleman can proceed.
Yeah, and I want the whole country to look at this. Because this is the Attorney General of the United States, whose job is law enforcement. We've never had a witness who has misunderstood our rules and been unable to conform his or her conduct to our rules before. We have only 5 minutes.
Fuck the rules. She's violating the law. Please continue.
And so we use our time to ask you specific questions.
How long are you giving me to
Excuse
answer?
me, I'm not yielding to you right now. I'd like that second restored too. So, Ms. Bondi, the way it works is we ask you a question and you answer it. And if you go off on a wild goose chase, another tangent, you start reading statistics or you start talking about stuff going on in our district. And by the way, I invite you to my district. Come to my district, but that's not what we're here to do today. Okay? So, and you do that, then we're allowed to say we reclaim our time. At that point, you have to be quiet. You have no choice. You have to be quiet. So I hope you understand the rule at this point. Now, here's what I want to ask you. You're in law enforcement. We've seen all kinds of evidence of crimes. And when we go over to the Department of Justice for the 4 computers for every member of Congress, we see more evidence of crimes. Will you create a joint task force of the Department of Justice and governors and state attorney generals and district attorneys across the country to investigate the crimes that have taken place against these victims and more than 1,000 like them? The DOJ is not doing its job. Will you create a task force with state and local law enforcement to make that happen?
No.
Gentlelady can respond if she wants to.
Thank you, Chairman. He called Chase Mulligan a wild goose chase and didn't even know who he was. He is a defendant in your own
Chairman,
district who preyed on girls.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, you know what? If he were part of the Epstein investigation, you wouldn't do anything about it.
Online chat rooms and committed sextortion. Yet he didn't even know in your tiny little district who he
Mr. Chairman,
was.
she's embarrassing you.
He's about to be
This is your committee, and she is embarrassing you.
Shame on you.
The time of the gentleman has expired.
Okay, so again, this is kind of her standard way of doing this. But the biggest takeaway from that is no, she's not going to put together a task force to go through this stuff. They're not going to allow for a special master. Again, the only remedy here is vote blue no matter who. Until we have the numbers in the House and the Senate, none of this shit is going to change. This is not a feature. This is not a bug. This is a feature. She intentionally was put in this job to do exactly what she did as Florida AG, which is protect the non-prosecution agreement that was made with Epstein's lawyers and with Alex Acosta with her life, with her job security for the remainder of her time in that office. That is her only fucking job. Guarantee that no one will act on what these men did. She has the same job in the Trump administration she had as Florida AG. You can fuck around with all these others like street crime and interstate crime and stuff and just pretend like you know what the actual job is, even though it will, because the DOJ is gigantic, will go on without you whether you have input or not, because the law responds to reality. You know, the only action she would get from the president is any lawfare that he sends her way. And obviously there's a lot of that, so she's very busy. But her whole gig was, we'll give you some things where you could say you went after immigrants. We'll give you a couple of cases that make you look like a hero that would have gotten prosecuted by fucking anybody. And you could beat your chest about them and act like you're the only person who would have come to the rescue of obvious criminal cases that work their way to your office because of the street level work that law enforcement does all the fucking time. But when it comes to the stuff that she can do, specific to her job, that would take an aggressive point from her, like forming a task force or appointing a special master or pressuring the president or someone else to appoint one, that's too much. She will not be asked to do that. So this is and the way that she's throwing around these cases, again, if the only reason she knows about these cases is because they are being prosecuted. Most of which she inherited from arrests that happened in the Biden administration because of how long the judicial process takes. All right. So, all right, this is the next one. By the way, hit the like, share the show. It's Hal Sparks, Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. I will not have a show tomorrow because it is my kids' parent-teacher conferences, and I will be away. And then I will be back, and we'll be regular on Friday and Saturday. So just letting you guys know, just a little turnaround tomorrow, just as a heads up. Here we go. So the next one up is, okay. So Goldman, obviously, she also hates him. So her job is not just to go after every Democrat, which she does, but to specifically attack the ones that, and that's what Moskowitz was talking about with the burn book. Go after the ones that have some Q, the ones that Trump knows their names. She was wholly unprepared with a lot of people that are kind of like pedestrian Democrats that don't make a lot of noise and just do their fucking job. She has no idea. Like she like her stuff is kind of generic. Even I would argue that why she had a hard time going after Ted Lieu, the only thing she could go after was he's from California. So that'll, shit on California. It's like autopilot. But going after some people, like she has to have ammo specific to these people. That's why she has a burn book. Because last time she just had notes of like little phrases. This time she's got an actual, when she's taking questions from the next one, she's got an assistant going, okay, Goldman's next. Here's our list of shit to throw his way. That's literally how she prepared for this. She did not prepare for this by going over what was redacted and what wasn't, and what should have been redacted and what shouldn't. That was actually the question at hand.
New York recognized.
I went over to the department yesterday for a couple of hours to review some of the unredacted materials. And I am looking forward to your detailed explanation for why you have withheld almost half of the documents, which is required by the bill. Now, obviously, there are 3 million documents, so I didn't get through much. But one thing I didn't see was the client list that you said you had on your desk a year ago. I did, however, find a couple of important documents. An 86-page prosecution memo from the Southern District of New York and a draft indictment from Florida against Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirators. For reasons that I cannot understand nor are permitted by the bill, they were still redacted, even for members of Congress. So, Ms. Bondi, will you commit right here to immediately providing those 2 documents in unredacted form to members of Congress? Not a complicated question.
Well, I guess it is for you because you have a law degree and those are privileged.
Okay, they're not privileged, but we will discuss that later. I also found an...
Whoa. Because Trump's in it? I mean, what other privilege are we fucking talking about? The president has the privilege of choosing which of his friends and which of his own photographs get released in the Epstein files? Are we talking about orange privilege?
Email.
Hold on.
From Jeffrey Epstein. Hold on. I also found an email that I have right here from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell that was unredacted. And it included notes of statements that Donald Trump made about his prior relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, there is no reason for this to be hidden from the American people. There is no privilege, there is no attorney-client privilege, and I see you're checking with your staff, and I can assure you, staff, this is not under attorney-client privilege because it was sent from Jeffrey Epstein to Ghislaine Maxwell. Will you commit to publicly providing the unredacted version of this so that the American people can understand the extent of Donald Trump's lies about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein?
You're about as good of a lawyer today as you were when you tried to impeach President Trump in 2016. Have you apologized for that in 2019?
So will you unredact this? Will you
were
unredact
lead
this?
counsel on that. Privilege.
I'm asking you, will you unredact this?
She said privileged. Why is it privileged? Explain the reasoning behind the privilege.
Privileged.
Privileged, of course. I look forward to discussing this more. Now, these are obviously improper redactions.
So, real quick, that's kind of amazing that he got that defense out of her. Like that, I mean, hey, Daily Beast, I know you guys are jumping on shit. How about jumping on the fact that Pam Bondi just regarded an email between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell as privileged communication? Like, what the? I mean, boom.
And let me stop for a minute.
I'm talking. I'm
If they're
talking.
not privileged,
Quiet.
don't yell at me. If they're not
Mr. Chairman, would you
privileged,
stop the clock? This is on your time. It's not on Mr.
If
Goldman.
they're not
Even though
privileged,
you used your
if we review
improper
them and they're not-
redactions
you'll like my answer.
to
If we
continue
review
to
them and they're not
protect
privileged,
Time
belongs to
we
the
will
member.
be happy to release them.
We'll
after
stop the
review.
clock. We'll stop the clock. Time belongs to the member. Go ahead.
Even though you used improper redactions to protect Donald Trump and other predators associated with Jeffrey Epstein, you did the exact opposite thing.
Oh, by the way, I want to get to this. What she was saying underneath was, she's like, you'll like my answer. If we review them and they're not privileged, we'll unredact them. Okay, first of all, she's admitting to not following the law, in that she was either part of the redaction or providing a redacted document to Congress when she was supposed to provide an unredacted one, and they didn't even review it just because it was. But I don't even know that they would have looked at it because it's completely blocked out. They had to have known it had Trump shit in it, or they just kept it because they opened up other shit. Like they asked for other things to be, or they looked at them clearly. But if it involves Trump, this is clearly one of the 1,000 agents put in charge to redact that. She's like, if we look at it, we find it shouldn't be privileged, we'll release it. That goes back to what Massie said about, yeah, you complied with the law 40 minutes after I caught you red-handed. That's what she's admitting to. That happened again. Hold on, let me back up.
Associated with Jeffrey Epstein, you did the exact opposite thing with the survivors and victims of this scheme. So their identification information was...
By the way, I like Jasmine Crockett as Goldman's hype lady.
Really the only thing required to be redacted, and it was not. And it's clear this was not a mistake. This was not by accident. This was not because you only had 30 days when you really used 75, and that doesn't even include all the hours last March that you were redacting it. But I'll tell you why it's clear it wasn't.
By the way, not just last March, all fucking year. Especially as the law started moving forward. They didn't stop this process. It was a long process. There's a lot of shit to look through. And they missed some things. So you can tell they were still at it all year long.
A mistake. There is an email entitled Epstein Victim List. There are 32
one
names.
Massie brought up.
One is redacted. 31 are not. So someone looked at it and decided to redact something. And I will tell you that that is clearly intentional to intimidate these survivors.
Also, I'm going to assume, for the record, Mr. Chair, reclaiming my time from him reclaiming his time, that the reason that one name was redacted is because Trump knows that's his victim, or at least one of his. That's the one that barks back on him. That's one of them that shows up in the 302s that points to Trump. Specifically. That's why it's redacted. Of all the listed names, that's the specific one that wasn't thrown out of a helicopter or sent back to Czechoslovakia that he's worried about. That name's on the list, and they were like, oh shit, that's the one Trump was bragging about to us. That's what that is. They redacted Trump's victim. I'm just saying.
It's clearly intentional to intimidate these survivors and victims. Now, in an interview last week...
How will you tell me that's intentional?
In an interview last week, Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche...
You can't go off script.
...said that any victim that wants to speak with the department has done so, hopefully. Well, thanks to the incredibly brave people sitting here behind you, we can actually ask them if that's true. Now, would the survivors and victims who are here please stand up one more time? Just by show of hands, how many of you or your loved ones actually have met with the Department of Justice and provided testimony and estimate and evidence? None. And of those of you who have not met, which is everyone, how many of you have reached out either individually or through a lawyer or representative to offer to provide testimony and evidence? All of them. And of those of you all
Jasmine just, you go, Goldman. Go, Goldman. Bring the gold, baby.
of you who have reached out, how many of you were denied or ignored by the Department of Justice? All of them. And despite the shameful and despicable efforts by Ms. Bondi and her department to intimidate you, how many of you are still willing to speak to the Department of Justice? All of them. Well, Ms. Bondi, it looks like you have some more witnesses
Gentleman's
to
time has
talk to,
expired.
and I yield back.
Nicely done. By the way, way to bring it home in the time he has allotted, and leaving that on her, on her doorstep, particularly brutal. I wish again that they were able to. I mean, this is fucking Forbes, and they're taking the C-SPAN poll, and they're just going to focus on who's talking or who's answering at any particular time. Democrats, I would suggest something real quick, if I may. You have access to the cameras in committee. And there is nothing that I know of stopping you from live streaming committee hearings from your own portal anywhere. And having someone hired, especially when dealing with a topic as big as this, and I recommend it for the next impeachment, that you need to have somebody running the switcher in there so that when this footage goes out and it's broadly there, you guys can show what you're meaning to show, including the screen that goes up there, including the graphics that you have. There is nothing stopping you from putting that into your own kind of production of this. If you don't have access to their switcher, there are a myriad, and I would gladly walk you through it, of OBS-based systems like this that are completely free to the taxpayer and to your donors, where you can source multiple cameras and a single audio source, which would be the mic feed that everybody gets in the press pool, and you can place a camera aiming at the gallery, a camera aiming at the witness, a camera that and have somebody point the camera at each staff, like your own staff member could do it as part of their job. And then a little button that puts up whatever graphic you put in, so that when it pops up, they see it as well, whether the person that puts it up on the screen at the showing does. I would say worth the investment. I would gladly walk you through the tech on it. If I may offer my services, I will do it gratis. And you can put it down as $2,000 of contribution to the, I'm selling myself short here, but $2,000 of contribution to the, the DNC or something, or whatever the max is. That's the cost of my services. If people don't want me to do it for free, I will fucking gladly do it. I will put together, I'm just going to fucking do it. I'm going to put together a schematic and a list of gear. I did it for Stephanie Miller. I did it for Stuttering John. I did it for Boston Brian. And I will do it for everybody else. And I would gladly help you guys set up a system by which you can, like all the stuff that they did in Jan 6, which was really well produced, you could do that on the cheap and quickly these days. I'm just saying. Just going to do it. And I don't know who to send it to, but I'll send it to everybody. How about that? I'll send it to Goldman and to Crockett's office. I'll send it to Raskin. Like, here's how you should do it, guys. And this will be real easy. Like, here's a list of gear. I'm sure you have at least one staffer in the Democratic staff, like the generic staff that watches over all of them, or somebody you can assign to it, or somebody in staff who knows about this shit, because there's plenty of me's out there in that regard who can run part of it for you. And it won't take much. And I got to tell you, a lot of this shit is going to be very explosive, very TikTok ready if you design it as such. You've got to be able to reach out to people. And thank God I'm here to make a lot of this stuff exciting and charming as best I can. But I can't always be there. But I want to help. So anyways, there we go. And chat room, I will get together with Rob Glenn as well. And we'll work out a really easy way, because you can actually do like remote cameras using a fucking iPhone at these things. All you need is a plug to keep the goddamn thing running. But I would suggest GoPros that you can just mount everywhere would be perfect, or an equivalent thereof. I wouldn't go with the Insta360s because I think it's a Chinese company. I like what they have, but I think it's a bad look. Go with GoPro, or with Elgato cams if you want to hardwire shit. But I'll give you 3 options. I'm sure a donor would kick in the money for the gear if you guys wanted to go full Blackmagic cameras and all that stuff, or Nikon, but it's not necessary at all in this day and age. But it would be like if you could cut to Jasmine Crockett going, right as Goldman saying something, it gotta look kind of great. I'm just saying. And you could record all the sources separately onto a hard drive and edit parts of it later. Just saying. Glad to help. Look, I know I have my tech issues, but that's because I do this by myself. I run the show, do the commentary, and interact with my beloved chat, like, by myself. If I was just running one of these gigs, I'd fucking have my feet up. Can I say another thing? I stand during my goddamn show. That's right. That's right, everybody else. I'm calling you out. You fucking Wally extras. Get up off your ass. You're streaming. You're not fucking operating a bush hog. God damn. All right, next up. This is, let's see, where is it? Here we go. Where is it? So many of these. Holy shit, hold on. This one. Yeah. Now, there's an issue, if I may. By the way, welcome, Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. At Hal Sparks on Instagram, at halsparks.com. Infotainmentwars.com will take you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just do it. Just go ahead and do it. It doesn't hurt, doesn't sting. Maybe it does, a little, if you're a maggot. But still, I got to tell you, and by the way, this is a great opportunity for me to push back on the people that say, but Dems aren't doing anything. First of all, you put them in the minority, so kiss my ass. Secondly, they're doing a great job with every tool that they have. You want them to do better? Give them more tools, namely more votes to start with. That is inherent to our democracy. Unless you got the votes, you don't have shit. So you want, just get more Dems in there and worry about blue dogs later. I'm telling you that, over the next decade, that's the least of your worries. All right, here we go. This is one of the ways that, by the way, you weakly try to attack someone is that they mock you or make fun of your pathetic answers or something like that. And then because you're a terrible person and it's a serious topic, and then you pretend they're mocking the topic, not your response to the topic. What a joke you are in that situation. Not you personally, I'm the royal you. And she did that a little bit with the mockery, like mocking the Bible or whatever. And again, I would argue the Trump Bible is a mockery of the Bible and the Constitution and music, I would argue, because, you might love God Bless the USA, but it doesn't include a recording on an MP3 or a QR code where you can hear the song. It's just the lyrics, which is not exactly the Star Spangled Banner. So here we go. It's also all a lie. And I proudly stand up next to you and defend her still today. No, the guy you backed pretended he had bone spurs so he didn't have to go to war. So next up, Jonah Goose talking to Pam Bondi. What's funny about this? Okay.
Quote,
Whoops,
if you come for law enforcement, the Trump administration will come for you, end quote. I want to show you just a brief video. It's about 30 seconds, and I'll ask you a couple questions about it.
You guys are disgusting, man. Hey, you guys are disgusting. I'm former law enforcement. You're disgusting. You are the Nazi. You are the Gestapo. You can't see it because you're chasing your pension, right? Your pension, your retirement, right? That's what runs your life, your retirement. The sad thing is they're not even going to get their pension because it's going to be worthless. And shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Yeah. Fuck that.
He's just said, yeah, kill them, by the way, in case you missed that.
Attorney General Bondi, that man works for you now, right?
Who was that, Congressman?
The man in that video, the one who was in the police-worn body cam footage, the one allegedly yelling, "kill him," at police officers on January 6th.
Not allegedly. We heard it. The man on video. You can say that. You know that, right? There's no worry about deep fakes in this situation. That was evidence in a trial. That's body cam footage. You don't, allegedly doesn't apply here.
His name is Jared Wise.
He does work for us.
He works for you at the Department of Justice.
He does.
This is an individual whom a federal grand jury indicted for 2 felonies and 4 misdemeanors related to his participation in the attack on January 6th. One of those charges was forcibly assaulting, resisting, opposing, impeding, intimidating, and interfering with police with the intent to commit another felony. This is who you choose as the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States of America to hire at the Department of Justice. Someone on video yelling, "kill him," at police officers, right?
I believe he was pardoned by President Trump.
Oh, he was pardoned. You're right. You're right. Pardoned by President Trump for his offense. Pardoned for yelling, "kill him," at police officers. And yet you expect hardworking police officers across the country to believe that you take law enforcement seriously. You could imagine the reaction of so many folks across the country hearing the Chief Law Enforcement Officer of the United States refuse to even condemn what that individual whom you've now hired did. But in any event, let's talk a little bit about...
But again, I would have shortened this. I would have said, she's like, he pardoned him. Yes, which is an admission that he was guilty, but that it's okay with Trump. And thereby okay with you. So it is okay to threaten police officers and harm them in the commission of another felony if they're on your side. So much so that they not only get let off, but they get a job.
Some of the other divisions within the Department of Justice and what's happened over the last year. You're familiar with the public integrity section of the DOJ's criminal division. I think it's referred to as PIN. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know which presidential administration under which the PIN was first created?
I can tell you what administration that the weaponization was ended under.
I'll reclaim my time. This wasn't a trick question.
You don't get to
Attorney
reclaim
General.
your time.
Madam Attorney General.
Because I don't like it.
Mr. Chairman, will you explain to the witness that he does reclaim his time?
It's like, this is an odd defense that she comes up with. Like, just keep yapping. Don't pretend the rules don't apply to you, because they absolutely do. And you look like an idiot.
Because I don't answer a question to your satisfaction?
Mr. Chairman. Madam Attorney General, the time belongs to the gentleman from Colorado.
The president under which PIN was created was Gerald Ford. It was created after Watergate. I'm not asking a question, Madam Attorney General. The administration under which it was created was Gerald Ford. When you first started as the Attorney General of the United States, there were 35 people working in that office. There are now 2 people working in that office because you have gutted it. How many people work for the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team in the criminal division today?
Can I answer the question about PIN?
I've asked you a question. How many people
You've asked
work?
me a question, but you...
What? Gerald Ford, you know the answer. I'm sorry. We've already moved on to round 3. You've been eliminated. You don't have enough points. You get nothing. Good day, ma'am.
How many?
What? She wants to go back and answer the question. Gerald Ford. I mean, did you write it down or?
I answer the question about PIN.
I've asked you a question. How many people
You've asked
work?
me a question, but you don't
How
want
many
the answer.
people work
I'm not
for the
gonna answer your
National
questions the way you
Cryptocurrency
want.
Enforcement Team? You won't answer how many
I'll
people?
answer PIN.
You,
Pen will not be
you know what?
weaponized.
You know what?
What's
Madam
funny
Attorney
about
General,
this?
I'll say to the chairman.
What's funny about this?
Chairman, you know what the answer is, and I think I
What's
understand
funny
why the
about
Attorney General.
She's you're ridiculous. That's what's funny. That's why everybody else is laughing too. He's not laughing. Okay, stupid. This is not. Again, ain't a good look.
I want to answer the.
I mean, I know that like Cat Turd and some other people think she fucking pwned today, but most people are like, she looks like she's obnoxious. This is like a mass Karening.
Because you eliminated the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team last year. So I understand why you don't want to tell the American people who works there.
Yeah, I
no one
understand
works
why
there
you don't want to
anymore,
talk about
Madam
Mohammed
Attorney
Solomon
General.
in your district.
In any event,
who murdered people.
Mr. Chairman, will you stop the clock so his time is not wasted by the witness?
I've been very generous with allowing extra time when we have these little disputes.
I understand.
You got the time, Mr. Goose.
I might as well ask the chairman these questions.
I'd be happy
because
to answer some of your questions.
What's profound, the questions I've asked,
the crime in your
I've
district.
asked, Mr. Chairman, are not trick questions. They're not gotcha questions. They're actually basic questions about how the Department of Justice functions. And the unwillingness of this Attorney General.
In all fairness, she might not be unwilling. She might just be stupid. She might actually not give a shit about that part of the job, so she doesn't know. I mean, she's one of these people that ask her how many people work in the DOJ, she'd say too many, and think that's an answer.
To answer them in good faith. When a member of Congress asks how many people work at the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team and the Attorney General refuses to answer it, it is not a coincidence. It's because she eliminated the team. Why? Because her boss, the President of the United States, is making money hand over fist, $1.4 billion over the course of the last year through cryptocurrency holdings. I think what is happening at the Department of Justice is a disgrace, Mr. Chairman, and I would urge you to gain control of this hearing. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Yeah. I would ask the gentleman, does he agree with the standing up of the Deputy Attorney General for dealing with fraud? That's something that's happened in this administration. First time. You talked about Penn. That happened with this Justice Department.
We're talking.
Yeah, because nobody's ever gone after fraud. I don't know. Trump was actually convicted of fraud. Okay. All right. The next one up is, I think I've got Jasmine Crockett. Do I have her as well? Hold on one second. This is, no, that's okay. Hold on. We'll hold on to that one. There's so many of these. That's Jared Moskowitz. Okay, hold on. Let me go. This is, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Jasmine Crockett. I only hope, if I will, that Goldman stuck around to go, uh-huh, while she's talking. I would, you know how much I would give to just see Goldman go, well, while she's talking? All right.
It's expired.
Hold on.
Gentle lady is recognized.
Thank you.
By the way, almost every Republican except for Massie basically apologized to Pam Bondi that she had to come there and do her job.
Seek unanimous consent to introduce into the record the research that Representative Kamlager-Dove and I referenced concerning the threat of right-wing domestic terrorism, which the Department of Justice scrubbed from its website in September.
Without objection, the gentle lady from
Thank
Texas
you.
is recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And to be clear, I'm not going to ask any questions of this witness because this witness has revealed that she has no intentions of answering questions. But instead, I'm going to ask some very basic questions really quickly of my colleague, Becca Ballant, if she will answer right or wrong, raping children.
Wrong.
Right or wrong, killing random citizens.
Definitely wrong.
Right or wrong, enriching yourself as the sitting president of the United States.
Definitely wrong.
Okay, thank you, because I probably never would have got that with our witness. Our witness who somehow is a lawyer but does not understand how it works with witnesses. I'm not really sure what law school she went to and what...
It's the Liberty version of Trump University is a self-accrediting school run out of a vacant apartment in Phoenix, Arizona, I think.
All kind of cases she...
Oh, let me back up.
Witnesses. I'm not really sure what law school she went to and what all kind of cases she tried, but typically when you come into a space and somebody's a witness, then they sit there and they answer questions instead of asking questions. And then we also have this objection that we use as lawyers called non-responsive when a witness fails to actually answer the question. But nevertheless, let me address the survivors, because that's exactly who they are. They are not victims, they are survivors. Let me say thank you for having more courage and moral clarity in your pinky fingers than the entire Department of Justice. We are currently the laughingstock of the world, partially because of the failed leadership within the DOJ, as we see kings and queens falling everywhere around the world. But we don't know the basics of right and wrong in this country, because it's not about partisanship. And that's why I applaud Thomas Massie, because he's the only person on the Republican side that has a backbone and knows how to stand up to corruption. But nevertheless, let me keep going. My Democratic colleagues have been attacked this entire committee hearing. They have been lied on, and frankly, the American people weren't looking for that. They were looking for answers about the corruption that they see coming from this administration. In the written testimony of this witness, of this particular witness, she stated that when she took office, she had two main goals. The first was to end the weaponization of justice, and second, to return the department to its core mission. Not only have you lied about both, you've intentionally done the exact opposite. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting journalists than you are prosecuting pedophiles and creeps. In fact, your boss, the President of the United States, stated that this administration, quote, took the freedom of speech away. And at your direction, DOJ has arrested Don Lemon and Georgia Fort. And I might add that y'all actually had a judge that rejected y'all for trying to arrest Don Lemon before, just like the grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Kelly, just like a grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Slack.
I like her team. I mean, it's interesting that like almost like the separation in outfits, but they're wearing redacted shirts? Are these members of staff or guests or victims or whatever wearing like redacted emails?
Just
shit.
Like the case against Tish James was dismissed and the case against Mr. Comey was dismissed. I completely don't get how it is that you're sitting at the top of DOJ, because you don't seem to be good at your job. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting these journalists. In fact, we know after Georgia Fort and Don Lemon were arrested, we know that there were homes of journalists that were raided. We know that threatened prosecution against students protesting your actions and forced tech companies to remove apps used to track ISIS activities. But let's circle back to you protecting pedophiles and creeps, because I want to talk about the president and his possible involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I don't know what the president might have done with Jeffrey Epstein, but unlike this administration, I believe that facts matter. So let's talk about the facts. Fact number one, Donald Trump is one of the most named people in the Epstein files. At least 5,000 files contains more than 38,000 references to Trump, his wife, or Mar-a-Lago. Fact number two, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell made young girls available to Trump on multiple occasions. For example, according to this file, Ghislaine Maxwell presented a young girl to President Trump who spent more than 20 minutes apparently flirting with her. Here's another example. This shows notes from FBI investigators that describe Jeffrey Epstein transporting a victim to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump, where he bragged to Trump that, quote, this is a good one. Now, I'm not saying that the president is a pedophile, but there is a lot of evidence in these files that suggests that he's very close friends with a lot of men who are pedophiles. What's crazy about all of this is just that this is...
Again, why don't we have a sweat cam? Why don't we have a shot of Pam Bondi while she's having to listen to this? I mean, don't get me wrong. She's great TV on her own. But I think it would be awesome to have that split screen. I'm gonna again. This is just a project that I need to work on with the Democrats in the House. Let me back up.
What's crazy about all of this is just that this is a big cover-up. And this administration is engaged in it. In fact, this administration is complicit. But there are numerous others, like how the DOJ is attempting to obstruct justice in the investigation of the rogue agents who have murdered American citizens, or how the DOJ seized voter data from Fulton County in an attempt to steal the 2026 midterm elections, or how federal agents have Tom Homan on tape accepting a bribe and your agency killed the investigation, or how your agency is ready to give the president a $230 million payday, which is unconstitutional. The Constitution is clear. The president shall not receive any payment except his salary while in office. The fact of the matter is that you will be remembered as one of the worst attorney generals in history, an attorney general who has prioritized obstruction over justice, corruption over the law, fealty to the president over loyalty to the Constitution. And Mr. Chairman, I will yield.
Gentlelady yields. Gentleman from Missouri is recognized. Excuse me, gentleman from Kansas, the Attorney General, former
What's the difference?
Attorney General, Mr. Schmidt is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And
do you want to respond to any of that?